Welcome to another video on FTV. In today's video, it's raining, I'm cold, and we're reviewing the BMW M240i. So my name's Hamza and this is my M240i. So what I'm going to do is quickly just go around. That sounded loud. It didn't sound good. Anyways, so BMW M240i, mineral grey BMW colour is quite common, and it's got the red leather is it? It's red. Anyways, it's red leather. So I'm going to go through a few bits that have been done on the car that makes it a bit different. So number one, I think with BMWs, especially M models, I don't know why BMW don't have black grills, but I think it's super important. So I just got black grills. Got a front splitter. To be fair, I say I did. The front splitter came with the car, so I shouldn't be taking credit for something I didn't do. Anyways, moving to the side of the car. Now, the difference between a 240i and a standard 2 Series, for example, an M Sport 220 diesel, are the ferret grey mirrors and the wheels as well. So these wheels you do get in the M140i's as well. I'm not too sure if you get them in any other 40i models apart from the 1 and 2 Series, but I do really like the design on them. They're quite intricate as well, and they do make the car stand out a little bit. As we come round towards the back, you'll see the bits that I've done to the car recently. So one thing I wasn't too keen on when I actually bought the car, it was the back. I mean, that's a Golf R, and I'm pretty sure even if I didn't mention it, you probably would have known because it's got what is it, a pop and bang map? Not for me then. Anyways, this sounds better. We'll get onto that in a second. So yeah, the back of the car I wasn't too keen on. I felt as if it didn't look thick with 2 C's enough, basically. So I decided that I want something that makes the car stand out a bit, and this spoiler does a very, very good job of doing that. Probably doesn't add any downforce, actually probably does add a bit of downforce, but it's all negligible anyway. And another thing which I thought was quite important, the actual exhaust tips, I'm pretty sure many people will agree with me, they're quite small, and I don't really like the exhaust tips, the standard 40i's exhaust tips. So fix them with some eBay exhaust tips. Yes, eBay, because where else am I going to? I'm not going to go to BMW. I mean, how much do BMW charge? About what, 400 quid? Is it actually 400 quid? Kieran's nodding his head behind the camera. Don't know what he's on about. Anyways, so yeah, that's pretty much the outside. So it's quite simple. I mean, there's not much to it. One thing I am thinking of, and let me know what you guys think, is potentially getting a rear diffuser, but I'm not too sure. I'm not too keen on lowering the car. I know aesthetically it'll make it look a lot better. However, it's just not going to be practical enough. I'm going to be scraping everywhere. It scrapes a little bit as it is. But yeah, right, let's get out of this rain and let's get inside and go for a drive. So the BMW M240i, so the car itself, it's got a B58 engine now. As we all know, or some of us may know, a B58 is commonly used with BMWs, the 440i's, the newer LCI kind of cars tend to have the B58 engine. The B58 engine is good for a lot of power. It's a very tunable engine, hence why they probably put that in the new Toyota Supra. So the car itself, like I said, has a 3 litre B58 engine, straight 6, very creamy, it's a very smooth engine, producing about 340 PS or 335 brake horsepower, with roughly 500 Newton meters of torque. A very, very torquey engine. It's one of those engines where you don't need to rev it all the way to the red line, and if anything, sometimes it feels a bit weird just revving it all the way. You see the needle go past 6,000 RPM, and I'm not too sure what the power curves are because I've actually not seen any, but after about 6,000 RPM I don't feel that same, that, you know, where you're getting pushed back in your seat kind of feeling. So you tend to naturally just shift up if you are driving in manual mode. So yeah, 340 brake horsepower, 500 Nm of torque, plenty of golf for everyday use. Now, why did I buy a BMW M240i? It's a bit of a story. You may not be interested, but for those who are, I used to own a BMW M235i. So essentially, it's the same car with the N55 engine, which was used in the OG M2. So it's a slightly older engine. So that was, I used to own one of those. Very, very similar car in terms of handling wise, driving dynamics, etc. So I used to own one of those, and then I decided to get, you know, be a bit sensible because I was going to use my car a bit more. Well, that was the plan anyway. And then I bought a Volkswagen Golf GTI, the Mark 7.5. It was the performance pack, so it came with 245 brake horsepower. Now, going from a 3-litre straight six to a 2-litre 4-cylinder engine, I did really miss the car. I missed the M235i massively. I mean, I've never done this before, and it almost felt a bit weird. I was looking at pictures of the car and just like reminiscing good old memories, like you probably would with an old ex that's just broken up with you. Sounds funny, I know, but that was me at one point. So as you do as a petrol head, went back onto Auto Trader and thought, what can I get? And a part of me was thinking, do I go back to something that I've already had ish, or do I go for something completely different? So the cars I did consider were cars similar to this car. So I mean, there's a few differences. Things like I had S4, Audi S4s saved in my Auto Trader garage. I had cars like the M140i, 440i's, so cars around, I mean, you probably know where I'm going with this. So I was looking at those as well. So I thought, is there really something out there that I could go for? But then things like insurance costs and maintenance costs had to be kept in mind as well. I ultimately just ended up with a M240i, and do I regret that choice? Not at all. Not at all. Maybe in today's weather I'm probably thinking maybe an Audi S4 would have been better on these winding roads. However, no, when it's when it's dry, which is hardly ever dry in England, or it's hardly ever raining. No, it's hardly ever not raining. Yeah, it's probably not the best car to have. I mean, it does kick out quite often. I mean, we're on well, 60 mile an hour road here, and to be fair, I've kept it in comfort pretty much all the way. So that was pretty much the reason behind buying this car. In terms of actually mods on the car, I'm going to be honest, because I don't want my insurance to go through the roof and I want to keep the car relatively drivable. There are a few things that I probably wouldn't get, like I wouldn't do, such as lowering the car. Spaces, I've never been too keen on spaces. I've heard horror stories, but then again, that's if you don't do it properly. Just me, really, me being a bit overthinking everything. I'm not too sure if you'll probably be able to see with the camera. I've just come into a cloud of fog, so I've brought the speeds down a little bit. But yeah, that's the whole basis of why I bought the car. Now, what do I like about the car? And the main highlight points for anyone driving these cars, and they may want to relate, is it's the engine. It's the biggest selling point. As well as the engine, it's the handling. Now, I know I did say in today's weather it's not going to be the greatest. It's straight wheel drive, it's a small chassis, so it's a shorter wheelbase. It's just going to be naturally more snappy when it does snap out from the back. But in the right conditions, on the right roads, it honestly is it is the best car I've driven. I've driven a few cars. I'm not going to say I've driven many cars, but I have driven, you know, a good array of cars to understand what's good and what's bad. I mean, even comparing it to a Golf GTI, that was a front wheel drive. It did have an e-diff on the front, being the performance pack, but again, the front end is nowhere near as sharp as the as this, the Golf front end wasn't, it had a tendency to understeer. Maybe that could have been due to the fact that it had Bridgestone tyres and that come from factory, but the front end, I've always felt that the front end on this car, the steering is a lot more precise. So that's what I like about the car, and of course the fact that it's quick. You can't not like a car because it's quick. If you do, then just buy yourself, of course, a 4-day day. And a few bits that I don't like about the car. So what are the few niggly points? And I'd say it probably might be the ride. I think it's a bit firm, but then again, why am I buying this car then if I find the ride firm? But I think compared to, say, your Golf R S3, it is probably going to be a bit on the harder side. But then again, that's a trade-off. It handles, in my opinion, on a dry track, it'll probably handle a lot better around the track. So yeah, and then in terms of the tech, that's another thing that has put me off the car a little bit, or did initially put me off. I mean, I've got to walk it anyway, haven't I? But things like the fact that you can't get Apple CarPlay, the interior looks a bit dated, especially going from a Mark 7.5 Golf that had the digital dash. It had all the, the tech. It had the Apple CarPlay. It did look really nice on the inside. Adaptive cruise control, that kind of stuff. So I have basically downgraded in that sense. So that's pretty much my thoughts on the car. I mean, I was going to give it a bit there, but we've come down to a 30 mile an hour road. So I'm just going to do a U-turn and head back towards the where we started off. Take 2. Oh, this is like take 470 something. Should we do launch? That wasn't launch control. That was Wheel Spin City. Anyways, so there's a lot standing water there. Twitchy one time. Yeah, it's twitchy one time here. One thing I did forget to touch on was the ZF gearbox. Now, for ZF gearbox are used, I mean the gearboxes are used in many cars. I think Jaguars use them, a lot of BMWs use them. And, I know it's a single clutch, but going from a DSG to this, oddly enough, I would have thought that bollocks. Should have put my phone in silent. Leave me alone. So I would have thought that the DSG gearbox would have been more smooth, but I did find the DSG gearbox to be very annoying. It always wanted to do its own thing, and no matter if you had it in manual mode, it'd get towards the end, and guess what? Just before you press the paddle, it changed gears, and then because you press the paddle, it changed gear again. So not ideal at all. See, the front end, it does stick. Oh, the front end, I mean, even in the rain. So yeah, the gearbox, I'm super impressed with the gearbox. It shifts seamlessly. Let's let you know. It picks up super quick. It is a very planted car as well. But yeah, in terms of future, the things I've got planned, we'll touch upon the gearbox just for another second. I might get an XHP tune done on the gearbox, because one thing I have noticed is it's quite jerky when you downshift. It sounds like it won't give you whiplash, but it could give you whiplash. It's not that bad, it won't give you whiplash. But yeah, so that's one thing. Maybe a tune in the future. I mean, a stage 1 is, you get massive gains from a stage 1. May do that. One thing I was really considering was a double resonator delete. The 240i's are more quieter. I mean, they don't sound as good as the N55 engines, or the M235 or N135i's. But I think with a double res delete, we could solve that issue, and if anything, make it sound a lot better than them as well. It does pop, it does have like verbals, and it does have a few pops on the overrun, which I do like. I prefer that than pops and bangs. I absolutely hate pops and bang maps. But no, in terms of the car itself, honestly, it is a car that I genuinely do want to keep for a very long time, and I feel odd saying that because I've never really wanted to like keep a car for very long, but oh well. So anyways guys, we're gonna call it there. I've done enough waffling as it is. You guys are probably fed up of listening to me now, but thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the outro. Right guys, well, that's a wrap. Thank you very much for watching my personal take on my BMW M240i. I'm sulking now, I'm freezing. Theme of the video is you might see a bit of rain specks and a bit of cloudiness on the lens. We've tried our best to keep it as clean as possible, but no, thank you very much for watching the video. I'm not too sure if I mentioned in the last video, we've got quite a few other cars lined up, so if there's anything that you guys may want to see, or there's any cars that you guys have, just give us a shout. You know, we'd love to like film your car. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and see you guys next time.